Welcome back, everyone. It is time for our triple play, the stocks that we're taking a look at that are making some moves today. So I'm going to kick us off with my pick, which is Wix. Now, this Israeli software company provides cloud-based web development services, as well as those drag-and-drop website building. Now, they actually reported wider than expected an earnings loss at 72 cents per share and a slight revenue beat at 341.6 million there. But it was the lower forward guidance that really pressured Wix today. In the company's statement, it said, "We continue to experience a high level of volatility in demand for online services, as many companies do today, due to the combination of macroeconomic headwinds and global uncertainty." Now, of course, we have to keep in mind that after 2 years, they had very steep internet growth thanks to the pandemic, but now demand has started to fall. And then, of course, the company also was one of the ones that pulled out of Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. And just from that, pulling out because of the invasion, they said they expect a $3 million revenue loss as a result. Now, the stock is down around 70% over the past year, but Wix said it is focusing on profitability instead of large investments going forward.
Yeah, Rochelle, certainly was one of those high-flying trades during the pandemic. It peaked back in February of 2021, and you mentioned the fact that it had generated so much traction during the pandemic because it was helping so many of those small businesses transition their business online. But it does seem like, at least for now, we have seen the stock peak. And another thing I want to go back to is you mentioned the fact that Wix closed its business in Russia. And that brings me to the stock I actually want to watch today, and that is McDonald's. And McDonald's making the announcement that it is leaving Russia, announcing plans to sell its Russian business now to a local buyer. The decision coming about 2 months after McDonald's paused operations in the country. Now, in a statement, the company said that the humanitarian crisis caused by the war in Ukraine and the precipitating, unpredictable operating environment have led McDonald's to conclude that continued ownership of the business in Russia is no longer tenable, nor is it consistent with McDonald's values. Now, McDonald's first opened in Russia 32 years ago and now has more than 850 restaurants in the country, employs over 60,000 people. And Dave, like Wix, like McDonald's really just becoming the last one, the most recent Western company that's pulling their business out of Russia.
It's kind of, look, I don't want to make too much of this, but I think it's kind of the quintessential business question of our time is, on a global scale, how are you going to approach these issues? If China invades Taiwan, are you going to pull out and stop doing business with China? And with the Russia question, there are so many that, like McDonald's, pause their relationship. Well, what happens in a month from now if all of a sudden that ends, you're still doing business with a butcher? Are U.S. companies going to recalibrate where they do business in the long term? Do you think they will? Do you think long term most will stay out of Russia, depending on how this ends?
At least for now. I mean, you could maybe...
Right, but 2-3 years from now.
You never know. You never know. But at least while Putin is in power, you would think that companies would try to avoid the country.
Maybe that's the inflection point.
Unless we see it at totally 180.
When Putin is done, do they then return? It shall be very interesting. I am determined to bring you a daily Musk Minute, as you know, so my play is Twitter. TWTR, the symbol, has been on a bumpy ride since Elon Musk offered to take the private at $54.20 per share. That was back on April 4th. And as always, Elon is keeping them in the news. First, over the weekend, Donald Trump said his Truth Social that Musk would never buy Twitter at such a ridiculous price. That wasn't the only headline. The next day, Elon tweeted that Twitter Legal just called him to complain that he actually violated his NDA by revealing the bot check sample size is 100. Now, news today that according to an SEC filing, former President Trump, if he's reinstated on Twitter, he is obligated to post on his Truth Social first, wait 6 hours, and then he can post on other social media sites. That's including Twitter, again, if he is reinstated. So how is all this drama impacting the stock? Down more than 20% since that April 4th day when Elon made the offer, and today down yet again more than 7%, and that makes it 7 straight down days for Twitter. If Elon's goal was to crash this stock, well, it's been a complete success. And Michelle, the back and forth did not stop. It's now, in the last couple of hours, been heating up between he and the Twitter CEO.
And that's what I really don't like. This is really hashtag doing too much. Why does everything have to be, every step has to be broadcast on Twitter? Maybe some things should be behind closed doors. If they're going to be rocking the stock prices left, right, and center as he's sort of going through his thought process, maybe we don't all need to know that if there are going to be such consequences for the stock. But when you get involved in, with Elon Musk, he's not the most conventional businessman. He has a very specific way of doing business, and he wants this to be a very public square, as he said before, with Twitter. So I guess this is how he plans on doing that. But yeah, obviously it's costing the stock price.
Yeah, it certainly is. And of course, this begs the question of whether or not there's always some motive to why Elon Musk is doing what he's doing. And Dan Ives of Wedbush, he actually raised this in a note that he put out today. And he was saying that he actually thinks he's doing it on purpose just to lower the price. When you take a look at Twitter, it's obvious because Twitter is now, the market value is $13 billion less than what Musk agreed to pay for the company. And all this, he's saying, at least over the last 72 hours or so, has been because of this bot issue. What percentage of bots Twitter has, that number has been up for debate. The Twitter CEO saying less than 5%. Musk saying it's much more than that. This is how Musk likes to do business. And we certainly are seeing Twitter now trade similar to how we have seen Tesla trade in the past, when Elon Musk comes out and makes these big tweets that obviously get Wall Street's attention.
One of the replies Elon had to the Twitter CEO was really elevated, guys. It was a poop emoji. This is the richest man in the world who wants to own Twitter, who's replying with that. And we usually call this the quiet period, and there's reason for that you talk in quiet channels to not destroy this deal, leaving most of the market with the guess that he wants nothing to do with this deal. Now, many say that it's just that $1 billion charge that allows him to get out of that deal. But it seems like in the recent past week or so that a lot of shareholders would sue him day after day if, in fact, he does get out of this deal. I don't think he wants any part of the deal, Rochelle. I don't know about you, but he certainly will be sued for driving this stock down publicly if he pulls out.
I mean, he's certainly not helping his case, put it that way. I mean, at one point in one of his tweets, he was like, "Oh, I was just joking." That's a very fine line. If it's moving the stock prices of things, I doubt the SEC is going to see that the same way. I do think he's trading dangerous ground. It could be that, look, maybe he just wants to see the improvements, and maybe he's realizing, look, maybe I have bitten off more than I can chew. Maybe I'll just pay my billion and back out, but at least let me put out there the changes that I'd like to see. But in terms of the end game here, I feel like it's getting a little more muddy with every single tweet.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see how this plays out. Dave, I love your idea of the Musk Minute because, one, it resonates with our viewers. We love talking about it, and we certainly are seeing just on a wider scale because anything that he tweets, at least over the last couple of weeks, has been influencing Twitter stocks. So certainly will be interesting to watch. But again, shares under pressure once again today. And as long as they keep going back and forth and Musk keeps questioning that what actually drives Twitter's business, there's going to be a lot of people that are looking to sell the stock, I think.
Between his tweets and if Donald Trump does come back,
I don't know
if the news media can collectively handle it. But it does stay interesting.